So deloads are really, really important. Obviously, we've spoken about progressive overload and the importance of that. So progressive overload is essentially incrementally making our training a little bit more challenging as weeks go by or months go by, so that as our body adapts and improves in terms of our fitness and our strength, we still remain challenged in our sessions because they're getting gradually more difficult as time goes on. However, if we just continued this forever, it's going to get to a point where our body's overly fatigued, exhausted, and then maybe even injured. So we want to put these little breaks called deloads in, where we can just take a little bit of a step back. What we're not doing is completely stopping training for that time period. All we're doing is reducing the overall intensity and volume that week to allow our body to adapt, ready to move into the next training block, for example. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this, and the ways that we can actually implement these deloads. The first one is just having structure already set out within your training program, so that after a certain number of weeks you have a deload and then you move into the next training block. And this is exactly how it's set out within the structured training programs, in the studio programs in this membership. So if you're following one of those, you will have a structured process for your deloads at certain points to then move into the next training block. So you'll essentially incrementally increase the intensity and then deload, where you'll decrease the intensity, ready to build back up again at a higher level for the next training block. So that's the first method of deloading. The next method is basically where you have a look at what's going on in your day-to-day life, not necessarily at your training specifically, and you look at where you could place a deload in due to lifestyle or life circumstances. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you're moving house and you're going to be spending a week of moving house. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to focus purely on your training and remain or keep that intensity going and keep building on your training program during that week, for example. So by planning in a deload at that point, we allow our training to take a step back. We reduce our overall volume and intensity to allow our energy to be used for those life circumstances like moving house, for example. It could be that you're wanting a relaxing holiday and you're going away for a holiday and you want to just take a deload while you're away. So you're still exercising and still training, but you're just reducing the overall volume and intensity. And by slotting these deloads in within our lifestyle, that can work really well because it just fits in nicely to when we actually need to take a step back from training, rather than just having the structure already laid out in the training program, for example. Those are two really good methods of working around your deloads and working around your overall training volume and intensity. But essentially, it is super important to take those deloads at points when they are really, really required, so that you can manage your overall volume and intensity and continue with training consistently.